Christianity should be propagated at all cost. That was their goal, because they thought they're doing something divine, that God, wanted them to do it. Right? But this is a complete misunderstanding of what Jesus wanted to say.
Yeah. That's what, as you were saying, I'm getting reminded of how Jesus lived his life and, what he claimed to be. But it's completely different. This is all... there was so much forceful things, situation that were put up, either you do this or you are out of the land, something.
And 100 years later, you will see a completely different approach, a Roman Catholic approach, which was not accepted by all the Roman Catholic, fathers and priests, but majority of them agreed, and some of it is still practiced today.
You mean during the time of Saint Francis Xavier?
Yeah, after about, let's say, 80 years after Francis Xavier,
okay,
comes another Italian father by the name of Robert de Nobili. Now, he introduced a completely different evangelistic form.
Okay.
Right? He said he came to Madurai. Right? He was posted at Madurai.
During the colonial time?
Yeah. If you call the Portuguese colonialists, of course they are.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're talking about the 1600s now.
Okay.
Robert de Nobili comes to Madurai, and Madurai is sort of one of the leading cities of the Nayak kingdoms. Right?
Yeah.
So they were ruled by the Nayaks. And Madurai is also a very religious place.
Yes.
Full of temples. And Hindu philosophy was at its peak in Madurai. Okay, and so there is already Portuguese, Roman Catholic evangelism going on there, but only the lower caste communities were Christians.
Okay.
So Robert de Nobili comes, he sits and he looks at the church and he says, this is not Christianity. And he says, how can I bring these upper caste Hindus to follow Christ? Right? He says, Christianity is not simply about bringing a small lower caste community person who's not having any dress to the church. It is about bringing these religious non-Christians to the church as well. So what should we do? Then he says that we should accommodate to their, not only their lifestyle, but also to their religious and cultural beliefs. And so what he does... Accommodate as in, change your lifestyle, change your dressing, change your eating habits, and follow their, beliefs, cultural beliefs, as much as to accommodate Christ to them.
Oh.
So what he did was it's called the method of accommodation, or it is called the ministry of accommodation, where you take Christ and you accommodate Christ to the beliefs and practices of the culture.
Oh, okay.
So he looks at the Madurai culture and he says, let's bring Christ, put him straight into the culture. So what does that mean? It means that a Christian should take off all his Western robes. Remember, he's a European. He's an Italian aristocrat. He comes from an aristocratic family. He gives up all his wealth. He becomes a Roman Catholic missionary. He comes to Madurai. And there he says, I'm going to take off all my Western robes and put on the sannyasi dress. That is the orange dress. Okay, just a single piece of cloth around his body. And then his eating habits completely changed, just one meal a day. Right? And then he lived exactly like, a Hindu sannyasi. Practicing the caste system, practicing all the basic Brahminical lifestyle. That is, have a hair tuft.
Oh, okay.
Okay, put on the sacred cord, right? And put on the traditional sandal paste around the body and do the ceremonial washings, the bathing, all the ceremonial stuff. But what Robert de Nobili does is he replaces the mantras and the slokas by the biblical verses.
By praying and reading the Bible.
So he does the homam, he does whatever they do, but instead of doing those Sanskrit mantras and slokas, he takes verses from the Bible and he says it. So he gives, new, perspective on how to understand the local things. He says, why do you want to change his name? Why do you want to change the religious stuff? If they want to say prayers around the fire, let them do it. All you do is now you replace those gods and the mantras with the biblical verses and replace the God with Jesus.
Oh.
So you accommodate Christ to them. So this is also the same, Portuguese Padroado system that you call it, that we earlier talked about, the decision that was made in First Provincial. Completely different method. right?
Oh yeah, this is very. It's even hard to imagine.
Yes, and so you have, so what Robert D. Nobili does is, in Madurai, you have a church for the lower caste, you have a church for the upper caste. So,
Oh, the caste system is still there.
oh yeah, and he completely.
It's like he also got into the culture. It is a cultural thing and not a religious thing.
Yes, yes. He said if you want to become a Christian, you don't have to, throw off your, all your outside markers. You can come to Christ with all your outside markers.
Oh.
And that method just took off in Madurai.
Oh.
Lots of Brahmins became Christians. Most of the Brahmin family you find in Madurai who are Christian today, there is a huge number. Most of them trace their roots to Robert D. Nobili's method of accommodation, and after him also, you find Constanti Beski, whom we call Virama Munivar, right? He, John Brito, all these people used the ministry of accommodation and converted and brought lots of higher caste communities from South Tamil Nadu, Madurai, Tirunelveli, Tuticorin and Kanyakumari. But Kanyakumari is a little different because again the conversion of most of these fishermen community in the Kanyakumari region happened before Robert D. Nobili came, even before Francis Xavier.
Oh,
right, that was a little different, and there was forceful conversion too. The Paravas, how did they become Christian? In fact, in one day 2,000 families became Christian, and the reason was that they were fishermen, and they had hard time with the Arabian Muslim fishermen who were trying to control the region. Through the Arabian Sea, the Arabs came in, they did business.
Okay.
That was affecting the local Hindu fishermen, right? And so they were basically saying, we need help. And so they approached the Roman Catholics, the Portuguese. They said, will you please help us? And then the Roman Catholics said, if you want us to help you, you should convert to Christianity.
Oh my God.
So they said, we will give you protection. We will protect you from these Arabian sailors and merchants and business people, but you have to become Christian. And one day you had 2,000 Paravas becoming Christians. They all became Roman Catholics. And you see Robert D. Nobili's method, completely different. He says, if you see something in the temple, use that as a method to, accommodate Christ. Right? Change the words, just change the God, and you're fine. Right? So we don't have a single uniform method of evangelism. Now here I'm not saying one is correct and one is wrong. Yeah, I'm just laying out the different evangelistic.
Like, we are also not in a situation where, right now in the situation 2025, when we say this to somebody, I think we can also not judge them based on what they did.
Yes.
I cannot put a label what they did is right or wrong, or the method that they use, because right now if you ask somebody as a Christian who believes, if somebody is trying to do that, it would not seem right. It would seem like, no, this is not the ways is, it's not the way. But thinking way back then, thinking about the peak of, the cultural, the peak of culture in India, and compared to all those things, I think I cannot judge them also based on this, even if right now it sounds differently.